Hello again, this is Eric Miskel with EMS Now. I'm on the show floor at IPC Apex 2025. I'm with Allison Budvarsan. She's with Out of the Box Manufacturing, an EMS from the Great Northwest.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't we start by giving an introduction to Out of the Box? Tell us about that.
Sure. So Out of the Box Manufacturing, we're in Renton, Washington. My husband is my business partner, and we started Out of the Box in our garage in 2008. It was a side gig for us for a while. We both came up in industry and we were trying some different things, different roles, and just kept getting people coming back and asking for help with assembly issues. So one thing leads to another, and we've got a pick and place in our garage.
Wow. Oh my! Did you start with actually soldering or just?
Yes.
Okay.
We had an old pick and place in our garage. We did some manual screen printing. We did that for a little while, and until the business started to pick up, and we got to a point where we had to make the decision. Is this something that we want to keep as a side gig, a hobby more, or was it something that we wanted to do full time? And we decided to jump in and go full time, and the rest is history, I suppose.
And current state?
Sure.
How big is the company? What do you have? Where is it? Just the one facility?
Yes. So we have one facility in, like I said, Renton, Washington. 3 lines, about 70 employees. So we're in a good place right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said it's about 50% is prototype.
Yes, that's right.
Love prototype. It's almost a different business and a different mindset too, right?
Yes.
Because things are changing like that.
Yeah. And I think it's been part of our secret sauce, because we had that intent from the beginning to build our processes around flexibility to accommodate the quick turns and the prototypes. So it's really become it's part of our culture, ingrained in our business, and it's who we are.
But it's also your experience, right? That's what I found when I was in that business. It's the experience of the people to do this, and then across all kinds of different industry sectors as well.
Yes.
Is so critical to the success of it.
Yeah, to be effective in that market space, I do think that you have to have a high concentration of talent, because it is resource intensive.
Yeah. And do you keep dedicated line for that, or is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
there's some flexibility, but primarily we do have one line that is set up to run our quick turns and our protos.
We used to say you have to keep burst capacity, right? Because when a client comes in with their pants on fire and needs help immediately, which happens, right? You need to be able to receive. You can't say no.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So we have 2 shifts. So the night shift is usually that overflow valve. If we need to pull in a couple of folks to work some extended hours or whatever, that's an expectation that will happen.
Right. Yeah. And what sectors primarily are you working in? I mean, Northwest, I think, Mil Aero up there, kind of.
That's exactly right. Yes. Okay. Space, aerospace, defense. And a lot of commercial, industrial, a lot of the prototyping activity happens in the Seattle area, so it's a really great place to be located.
Okay. Now we're going to riff off that onto something else here, which is yesterday was the IPC's EMS Leadership Summit. Yes. And you told me you were the MC of that. You were the host for the whole day. How did that go? How was that? How was the general theme? It's
been fantastic. So I joined the EMS Leadership Summit committee a couple of years ago, and they asked me to be the chair last year. So it's great. IPC is doing a really great job of creating space to support EMS companies, especially in the small to mid-sized space. So they've been doing some really incredible support activities as far as developing training programs, creating resources. So although the summit is one day, there are meetings and resources throughout the year. So I think that building that infrastructure has really helped the Leadership Summit itself be successful. We had the highest attendance yesterday that we have had so far, and the highest return rate from previous attendees. So it sounds like we're doing something right.
And what I heard from some clients is you're also getting people from outside the North America, right? From both Europe and India and Asia. So.
Yes, we had some folks from Finland, we had some folks from Canada, and some others. So it's a good mix. It's really great.
And that's good, because I used to go to it years ago, and it was more kind of North America, US centric, right? So it's nice to see that. Yeah. I'm glad to hear it. And were there any final thoughts that you imparted, great wisdoms to take forward from that, or?
There was a couple of great things to be exposed to. We spent some time talking about executive leadership in the EMS space, which was really great. And then some technical topics too. Talked about advanced packaging. We also talked about the advocacy work at the federal level that IPC is doing to support both PCBA and PCB fabrication, which is really important to both sides of that equation. And then Mr. John Mitchell spent the afternoon with us, did a panel on leveling up your business, and then stayed to facilitate a roundtable. So that was a really great afternoon function.
Oh,
too.
fantastic. Now, you're the Chief Operating Officer.
Yes.
So as a COO and an EMS these days, what are the big challenges?
Oh gosh, you mentioned preparing for bursts.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of our biggest challenges because we support the prototype market. Capacity planning is always something that, it presents a challenge,
right.
But you just have to make sure that you keep that availability on the line to accommodate when things stack up.
Right.
So that's a challenge, but I don't think it's a unique challenge. I hear from a lot of my peers, in EMS leadership, that's something that they have to continually deal with as well.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we have supply chain issues, different from years in the past. It's not popcorn parts that are bugging us anymore, but it is PCB fabrication, especially for us in the defense market. Stateside resources that can provide high technology in a quick turn are somewhat limited these days. So that's a concern. I think that if we can, and I see activity to support it already, right?
Yeah.
So I think that as an industry, we're moving in the right direction, but more work to be done there.
Yeah, we're playing catch up in some cases on that. So looking ahead, EMS industry, do you see demand coming back? Do you see, prototype, you need a lot of customers, so maybe that's almost a different type subsector of the industry.
Yeah.
But in the regular, normal EMS industry or business that you do, how do you see that evolving in the next few years here in the United States? And
yeah, so I think some of the recent changes, have brought people about, given them an open mind to reshoring. So at least they're looking at it, right? And I think the key there is talking to your customer at the total landed cost.
Right.
So that's definitely something that I think that we will see more of. But I think it'll take some time to play out, right? And they'll still, the same challenges will remain, but I do see an openness to have the conversation.
To have that. And that's so important with customers in any industry. And how's the market up there in the great Northwest? I used to have clients up there. There's been some consolidation. There's still a fair amount of smaller players, medium-sized players. Is that still the?
I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah. So there's several shops up in the Pacific Northwest. We all kind of have our own niche, so we don't tend to. We're not trying to play in the same space, which is great because there's plenty of work and opportunity for all of us. So that makes a really great situation.
How about the competition for labor then too up there? Is that pretty fierce between companies?
So I would say the competition for labor comes more from the larger OEMs in the Pacific Northwest rather than the competition, as you say, in the EMS market. So there's some really large manufacturing businesses. You've got SpaceX, you've got Boeing. Amazon has a heavy presence in Western Washington. So it's a common theme when I speak to my business owner colleagues in the area in general, just in the manufacturing community, that our smaller shops tend to put a lot of effort into investing in, entry-level direct labor, but it's a challenge to keep them as they move up through the ranks.
Right. Listen, I've always thought that the small and medium-sized EMS do some of the best work in this country, in the industry, right? Because it's not lines running 24/7. You're actually doing a lot of hands-on, high-tech type work, and I think there's some great companies out there. I'm glad to get to know more about yours, and hopefully we can speak about it more again in the future.
I'd love to.
Well, continued success to you.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Pleasure.